About 10 hours west of Dollywood is its sister park, Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. These parks are similar in so many ways, but where one was disappointing, the other one blew me away. Today, I'll be talking about my experience at this park on Thursday, July 26, 2018. The original plan was to spend the entire day of Friday the 27th at Silver Dollar City, but with Lightning Rod's closure, we decided to spend a half day at Dollywood and start driving west so we could spend the second half of Thursday and the first half of Friday at Silver Dollar City. If you arrive at the park after 3 p.m., your ticket is valid for the next day as well. We woke up the morning of July 26th in Jackson, Tennessee, and drove the 6 hours to Branson and got to the park around 4 o'clock. It was kind of rainy that day, and as we were walking in, it was coming down a little bit, but it didn't affect anything, and my number one priority was to get on my 14th and final US RMC Outlaw Run. We made the hike all the way to the back of the park and found a 10-minute wait. We got the back row, and after my first ride, I was a little underwhelmed, so we got back in line, and it pretty much confirmed what I thought the first time around. This was definitely the weakest non-Raptor RMC that I've ridden. So as we were leaving Outlaw Run, we went through the gift shop, and we noticed everything was like 90% off, so we got magnets, mugs, pens, and all kinds of stuff, and only spent like $11. They were probably dumping merch now that they had that shiny new toy stealing the spotlight near the front of the park, and that's where we were headed next. We only had to wait around 20 minutes for Time Traveler, and I took the time to enjoy the theming in the queue house. The first floor wasn't much to look at, but the second floor, where I was waiting, had clocks hanging everywhere and posters all over the walls. I like their boarding system, where you line up on your number next to the staircase going to the third floor, and the op tells you when to head up. So the station always has just enough people to fill the train. There was assigned seating, but I asked for the back row on each of my rides, and the ride op let me do it each time, so that was nice. After one ride on Time Traveler, I decided that this was actually better than the RMC on the other side of the park. One of the main reasons is that drop out of the station, one of the craziest and best elements on any coaster. Right next door to Time Traveler is Thunderation, the Aero Mine train which was a walk-on. I went in with zero expectations, but I walked away saying that this was the best mine train I'd ever ridden. Just like Time Traveler, it starts on high ground, so as soon as it rolls out of the station, it's hauling, and it just keeps picking up speed. It has a big lift hill at the end of the ride to get back to the station's level, but it does have a strong ending, so you're not just ending with the lift. We went back for another ride on Time Traveler, which was about another 20-minute wait. And then we moved on to Wildfire, which was a station wait. We got row 6 the first time, and I noticed I had a ton of room between me and the over-the-shoulder restraint, and actually got some decent floater air down that straight drop. I thought if I was in row 8 with the same airtime room, I might even get better airtime next time. But after we got off, we decided to move on and come back later. Next up was Powder Keg, which had about a 20-minute wait. The history of this ride is fascinating, as it used to be a water coaster and is now an S&S air launch coaster. And this was a really fun ride. Powerful launch, long ride, big drops, and it even has a lift hill at the end. We went across the path to get the last credit that we were getting that day, Fire in the Hole. We had just ridden Blazing Fury at Dollywood, and those rides are very similar, but the finale on this one was much better and included the splashdown. Now that all the credits were done, we had only been in the park for about 3 hours, and we wanted to get night rides on Outlaw Run and Time Traveler. We went back for a second ride on Powder Keg, and now the line was huge. We ended up waiting 45 minutes for that second ride. We went over to Wildfire, which was a walk-on, and I got row 8, got the extra airtime room, and that first drop shocked me. I was expecting decent floater, but got one of the most insane and unexpected pops of ejector I've ever gotten on any coaster. I cannot recommend enough row 8 with the maximum amount of space possible. I never thought that one of the craziest moments of ejector airtime would come on a B&M sit-down coaster, but here we are. It was getting pretty dark at this point, so we went back to Outlaw Run, which was a walk-on, and got 2 quick night rides. Other than being a short ride, the roughness really surprised me, and the way the train was jolting around was very un-RMC-like, and it caused some pretty bad in-ride stapling. All that being said, it's still a top 50 coaster. We walked over to end the night with Time Traveler, and the ops told us that the ride was closed until after the fireworks show, but we were free to wait in line. So we went to wait it out in the queue house, which made us miss the fireworks show. But we were mainly concerned with making sure that we got that night ride on Time Traveler, which we did, back row, and it was amazing. We got our Time Traveler souvenirs and stayed at the Deer Run Motel. We got there so late, after 11 p.m., that they actually taped an envelope on the office door with my room key. And this was an actual key. This was definitely a first for me. We got back to the park the next day with our tickets with 2 goals: ride Outlaw Run and Time Traveler one more time and get good photos. It was kind of cloudy and dark on the first day we were there, so my photos were pretty bad. We hit Time Traveler first and then went all the way to the back of the park for Outlaw Run, which was a walk-on because nobody goes that far back into the park after opening. We were going to get one more walk-on ride, but it broke down, so we went into photo mode. I hung out on the observation deck at Wildfire, and also the Q House to look out the windows of Time Traveler, and after an hour and a half, we were out of there, because we needed to drive 4 hours to hit Frontier City later that day. Here are some thoughts on this park. Everything about it is amazing. I used to think that the lineup was pretty weak before Time Traveler, and that's kind of true. This park isn't stacked with great coasters, but they have 5 really good coasters, which is something a lot of parks can't say. They have more quality coasters than Canada's Wonderland, and I actually prefer to have a park with a small number of quality coasters over a park that's loaded with terrible credits. Time Traveler, Outlaw Run, Wildfire, Powder Cage, and Thunderation are all great rides. The rides, the theming, the ops, everything was top-notch here. I had no idea that this would become one of my favorite parks. I had such a great time here, and it makes me want to come back as soon as possible. As for their next coaster, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. I think they could benefit from a hyper that goes out into the woods. It's something that they're currently lacking in their lineup. They also don't have any coaster that hangs under the track. A B&M invert would be a good fit for thrills. Or if they want to focus on another family coaster, a suspended coaster like Dragonflyer at Dollywood would also work here. Here's the final ride count. 5 on Outlaw Run, 4 on Time Traveler, 2 on Powder Keg, 2 on Wildfire, 1 on Thunderation, and 1 on Fire in the Hole. The biggest disappointment was Outlaw Run. I thought that this could be at least a middle tier RMC. I knew it was kind of short, but it still wasn't as good as I expected. A low tier RMC is still an amazing coaster, and ultimately, it was the coaster that I rode the most over the 2 days I was there. The biggest surprise is hard to pinpoint. There were so many pleasant surprises, including how much I liked Time Traveler and the first drop out of the station. Also, how great Thunderation was, how forceful Powder Keg's launch was, and probably the most surprising of all was Wildfire's ejector field drop in the back row. If you've been to Silver Dollar City, let me know what your experience was like in the comments below. If you haven't, let me know what you're most looking forward to at this park. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.